So now let's start connecting our API endpoints to our mobile app and see how it works in the code level. So we're going to use Postman for checking our endpoints, what are the available endpoints, what data they're expecting, as this is the format that our backend developer preferred. But you may get documentation, you may get just a message explaining what methods and what data you should use, etc. So it can be different depending on which backend developer you're working with. So here we have the registration endpoint, and in the body here, we can see all the items that are required for this specific endpoint. We have login, and again, in the body, we can see what we should send. We have get profile, which doesn't expect to get anything in the body. It's just a get endpoint to get the user data. And we have some services data, edit profile, etc. But now let's start with the registration and login. But before that, we need to set up our code so that we are ready to make backend calls. And to make backend calls, we are going to use axios. So first of all, I'm going to install it here. So I'll do, I will do yarn actually, yarn add axios. And while it is doing, I will go to our env file and I will add here API base URL, which will be the URL that will be common in all endpoints. So in this case, we have this domain name, and then we have API, and this is common for all the endpoints. So this part can change, but the base URL is the same. So I'm going to paste it here. Okay. And now in the app.js, we can actually make the base URL as default base URL of axios, or we can make reusable request function and call with it every time. Let's try the second approach. So what I will do, I will go to utils, and here I will create a request file. And here I will create a request function. So it will be a const request is equal, and this will return our axios call. And when you go to the documentation of axios, you can see there is actually two available ways you can do it. So either axios dot the method, so axios get, axios put, etc., or you can call it with full object like this, so that the method is more dynamic and you're not making it a function. So I will do it this way. So I will copy this, I will paste it here, and of course we need to first import axios here. So I will do import axios from axios. The method will be coming from the request. So we'll have the method here. We will also have the URL, and we will have the data. So everything will come from the request. We can say that let's put URL as the second. So method as the second. URL is always required, and this will start with a base URL. So here we need to have our base URL. So I will import config from React Native config. And here I will take the API base URL that we have defined here. And it will be slash and whatever is coming from here. Or we can actually skip slash and send it with the URL, and we will have URL. The method let's say by default we want to have get and use it if we don't have the method. So method or get. If the method exists, it will take the method. If not, it will take get. And the data, we don't need any default data because it's not always required. So I will just keep it like this. Okay. So this is one approach, and in this case, when calling a request, we always need to keep the order like this. So the URL needs to be first, and then method, and then data. But we can also change this to make an object. So in this case, we can send the argument with an object, and the order can be the way we want. The important part is to actually send it, so it will be something like this. It will be request and then these methods here. Yeah, almost like this. I prefer this approach because if you then add more items here, it will become like huge list. And in such case, you don't need to keep the order because let's say you want to skip method, but you want to send data. And in this case, okay, just do that. Just send URL and data. But if you had without the object, yeah, you needed to do like request, URL, and then undefined or null, and then the data. And imagine you have 6 and you want to just send the first one and the last one, you need to have the URL, like 4 undefined, and then the data. So that's why I prefer to have with an object. Let's keep this like this. Okay. Basically, we need to call this in the files, but before that, we need to decide actually how we are going to do that. So here, let's say we are starting with sign up. We have to either use React context to keep our data, or we will use Redux to keep our data. And based on that, it actually also impacts on how and where our codes will be made. In our case, we are going to use Redux. So we need to have the full structure to call the backend. We can have one example without the Redux to understand how actually the backend call works. And then after that, we will add Redux and the full structure around it. So in the next video, let's try to make the sign up call here. So be able to create accounts from the app without the Redux, just here in this file. And then after that, we are going to explore Redux as well.